when Kevin was on, I believe that's 4. Okay, let's get started. Can you zoom in just a close-up of me? Shoot. Be right back. Okay, I'm ready. Let's start at the beginning. Let's go. Come on, let's go. Get off the phone, Mark. 5 after 7, people are, if anyone's watching. Hi, and welcome to another edition of Community Live. This is Sunday, May 2nd, 1993. I'm going to be inviting phone calls later on in the show. My topic this week is the escalating violence in the schools, and I'll get to that in a second. First of all, let me explain to you a little bit about Community Live. This show is unlike broadcast network television. We at Public Access like to show the whole story and nothing but the whole story, the truth as it is. And that's the nature of a public access. Community Live was conceived in that effort to try to bring the truth to you, and not only that, to let you bring the truth to the show. And that's why we do Community Live, so you can call in, so you can offer your opinions without having sound bites, without having editing taking place. This is all live, and because it is live, some people can call in and make jokes on the air and speak obscenities and things like that. We can't stop that. We can't stop people's freedom of speech. That is America, and that's what the nature of a public access is. So that's just a little bit of the introduction of Community Live. If you have any comments, I will be asking questions later on in the show about this topic of which I speak, which is violence in the high schools. Are the high schools becoming more violent? Well, we've got some interviews with some students and a teacher that I did on Friday, and we'll go to that later on in the show. And but this week, mainly, and today, what I want to focus on is the problem. The biggest problem in the schools was running in the halls, chewing gum, and truancy. Things have changed since then, considerably. Fighting seems to be increasing steadily for no real reasons. Harassment towards students and teachers has become a day-to-day fact of life, and kids are actually bringing guns to school. That's happened twice in St. Helens so far, and the administration is looking at it as isolated incidents of kids just showing off. But this is no innocent game of cops and robbers. Another seemingly small yet growing menace is the gang activity in St. Helens. It's happening, and if not nipped in the bud, could become a big problem. Gangs are on the rise all over the state, with the biggest rise in Salem. The local school administration says there are 2 things we should not do. 1 is panic, and 2 is deny there is a problem. Some think this gang activity and the growing disrespect towards others is significant and should be dealt with. Some believe they're just kids being kids. What do you think? That's right. what do you think about this problem? And it is a problem. It's a growing problem. Many people out there, I'm sure a lot of people that are watching right now, don't know about this problem. They read in the papers, and I'll get to this in a second, about the Senate of Oregon approving the anti-gun bill in high schools and in schools, not just high schools. But a lot of people do not know that this is becoming an escalating problem, and Columbia County is not an exception. Let me read a little bit right now about a press release that I sent out to the papers and to the Kohi, and at this time I want to thank Kohi and the Chronicle for running this PSA. But I think in this in this press release, I kind of what I did was did exactly what a public access does not want to do. Here at CCTV, one of my main goals is to get away from what network stations do, and that is to hype things to their highest potential to try to get viewers in to watch. That's not what we want to do. We want the truth to be shown. And well, let me read the press release that I had. Our nation's schools are quickly becoming war zones. Guns are replacing books, and fighting and harassment are becoming all too common. Columbia County schools are no exception. For an inside look at this problem, watch Community Live Sunday at 7 p.m. on Channel 9. Join host J.J. Wright and a panel of local teachers and students as they explore this escalating violence in our schools. Well, I don't have a panel with me today. It was a little short notice. Next week I'll have that panel for part 2 of this topic. But I think I did in this press release exactly what against my morals and goals here at Channel 9. I hyped it. I don't want to hype it. I want to bring out the truth. And so the truth is, it is becoming a problem. The administration at the St. Helens High School, they believe that it's, well, it's not just isolated incidents, and it is becoming more of a problem, but they don't really call it violence. It is more of growing disrespect from students towards other students and students towards teachers. And it's becoming more and more blatant. The students just don't care who hears. When I was in high school, to cuss at a teacher, that was a complete no-go. I wouldn't even think of that. One of the big problems when I was in high school was drugs, and it still is a big problem. Alcohol is a tremendous problem, and that has a lot to do, I believe, with the escalating violence in the high schools. And there's also other factors coming into play. I have friends that are in the high school, and I hear from some of the girls that there is a lot of sexual harassment, and we hear a lot about it with Bob Packwood lately. This happens a lot in the high schools, and today I'm focusing on the problem and not what we can do about it, but just the problem itself. Let me talk about the Senate bill, what I just mentioned a second ago, Senate Bill 334, which came to the House last week. It was voted on Tuesday, and this is in the Wednesday Oregonian. The measure was voted down initially. And the reason why it was voted down, this is kind of strange. What the measure, let me tell you what the measure is, first of all. It says that carrying guns on school grounds is a felony. And it hasn't been passed through the House of Representatives of Oregon yet, but the Senate passed it. After 2 votes, it passed 16-13. The reason why it didn't pass to begin with was because it had some amendments on it that said that it is a felony to carry a gun within 1,000 feet of schools. That is the same thing along the lines of selling drugs 1,000 feet near a school. And it also made it illegal, a felony, as a matter of fact, to carry guns even if you have a concealed weapons permit. Now, the controversy in this, excuse me, is some of the gun lobbyists, like the NRA, were against this bill. This is completely, well, I don't want to editorialize, but I'm going to anyway. This is ridiculous. Why would someone be against a bill that makes it a felony to have guns in school? I think that is completely asinine. Let me turn to the page here. Their argument is, forgive me for not having this all ready for you, but their arguments are that excuse me, that these are unnecessary restrictions. Unnecessary restrictions. I think that's ridiculous. Why that would be an unnecessary restriction to make it illegal to have guns in a high school, I don't know. I don't know. I believe that having a gun, sure, we should all have the right to bear arms. It's in our Constitution. It should be legal. But as far as having a gun in schools, that is a different story. It's not a game anymore. It's not a game anymore, and it's becoming more and more of a reality. But at the same time, we want to keep our perspective about this problem, and we want to not hype this problem. But it is a problem. Right now, I wanted to ask for phone calls. If I can have the question that I asked Mark to put up there: are our schools becoming more violent? Are our high schools becoming violent? I know there's a lot of high school kids that were watching Mark's show, and don't be afraid to call in and let us know how you feel. If there's anyone out there that's being harassed, that has been harassed, and if you're a concerned parent, give us a call and let us know what you think about the problem. Are the schools becoming more violent? I would say right now the answer is yes. My opinion, the answer is yes. I don't go to school, so let's hear from some of the students. I would like to do that. In the next few minutes, what I'm going to do is go to our next tape. These are some interviews that I did at the high school. If no one wants to call in, we will get some interviews that I did earlier this week. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and watch that tape. These were done last week, and I talked to one teacher and several students about this problem and what they think.
Do you think there's a growing lack of respect in the high school nowadays?
Yeah, definitely. It's worse than when we were younger. It's definitely gotten worse.
How is this shown? How is this manifested?
Fights. There's a lot of fights every day.
People harass each other. They harass each other, and
they harass teachers.
yeah, they're a lot more mean. And just like a kid in our school, his dad just died, and people, even adults around the community, have been really rude about it and saying things, and that are uncalled for, you know. And I think that's really rude, and they're just really immature.
I think I agree with her totally. I think people don't even care anymore.
What about the fights? What kind of frequency are they happening?
Every day, and over little things too. I could tell you, just kind of probably social friend fights. Nothing.
You think there's gang stuff going on in this high school?
I don't think it's as serious as everyone thinks it is.
Really?
But there's no reason why gangs couldn't come here, but...
Yeah. I think it's good that they're at least recognizing that it's happening. I think the people that aren't recognizing it is the people in the high school, but I think the adults are. But this town isn't immune to anything at all, and we could get gangs very easily.
Yeah, I think that, Joe, overall, what I've seen is a growing disrespect for people of their own age and people of different backgrounds or different experiences or different cultures. And I think more of a disrespect in general for authority, and therefore oftentimes I think that's manifested in disrespect for adults. I don't know exactly why that's growing. I think there's a lot of probably factors that contribute to that. The disintegration of the families contributed. I think a lot of what they see in television and movies has contributed to that. I think a lot of the music that's listened to sort of puts across that value. And there's this general feeling of disrespect for age or authority or experience. Maybe it's even more of a distrust of those things more than even a disrespect. See a lot of more kids being violent towards other kids in more overt kinds of ways than we used to.
Like what?
More likely to get into fights, more likely to shove and harass other kids, more likely to go out of the way to pick fights with kids that are obviously smaller or younger, that kind of thing. I think there's a growing concern of potential gang activity growing in this community, which is not unusual in small communities all over the state. And so I think as that begins to develop more and more, we're going to see more and more of that kind of behavior as well.
You think it is developing more?
I think there's the seeds of it here. I think sort of an infant stage, if you can call it that. I think there's definitely potential. I think there's enough students that I've seen that are disassociated, don't seem to fit in with where things are at, that is a real potential hotbed for that kind of activity. I think they're going to find an attraction in a gang that they don't find in other places. and they may find a sense of belonging there that they don't find in other places.
So is this harassment and some of the disrespect that you mentioned, is it becoming more blatant? Are they just not caring who?
I think there's less and less a care of the results. I don't think there's a feeling that there's any particular result or consequences to that behavior. And whatever consequences there's insignificant enough that it doesn't seem to make much difference. Right now, our hands are sort of tied at the school level because the state laws are such that our options for discipline are so slight as to what is going to have a real consequence. I mean, you can kick a kid out of school, but to kick a kid out of school for any length of time is difficult to do. And then by state law, you have to provide tutors. So in a sense, you're defeating some of the very purpose for doing that, it seems to me. We've had 2 incidences with kids bringing guns to school this year. I'm not too sure that that's going to not become more of a norm, that we're going to see that kind of thing happen. I think we're open for a lot of potential problems.
And
at this point.
What would be the worst thing to do at this point, as far as
I think the worst thing to do is get paranoid and overreact to it.
Mhm.
I think there has to be a consistent policy at the school level, at the city level, the county level, as to how they are going to go about dealing with some of these problems. I think one of the things we have to do is offer some kind of alternatives. And right now, it's much easier to come up with harsher penalties, but not to really put the money and the effort forward to come up with alternatives. I mean, in this town, and it's been since I was in high school here, a real concern that there's nothing for kids to do, that there's no teen center, there's no other kind of alternative activities. There are some churches that offer alternatives, but that doesn't hit the majority of the kids we're dealing with.
Do you see a growing lack of respect towards from students towards other students?
Very much so, and Mr. Kunders doesn't do anything about it. He said last year that he was going to reinforce the rules more, but he has chose to favor certain students, and when they do things, because they're his son's friend, he won't do anything to him, but everybody else will get in trouble for what they do. And when he says he's cracking down on harassment, he means he's cracking down on certain people harassing other people, but not the others.
So when you talk about harassment, exactly what do you mean?
Oh, well, harassed me, and she's been suspended from school once, and she did not get suspended she was supposed to be suspended, I think, for 3 to 5 days the next time, and he did not do anything about it because she's friends with his son, I don't know, but he is not doing anything about it, and it is an ongoing problem.
So you think there's some political aspects to this problem?
I think Mr. Kunders just needs to start reinforcing the rules fairly with everyone and not just certain people.
Okay. What about fights? Do you see a lot of that going on nowadays?
I see a lot of it.
Really?
Yeah, I think that if he'd do his job and take care of certain things, that there would be a lot less fights. And I really think that if he wants to say he's cracking down on harassment, he should treat everyone fairly with the aspects.
And what about gangs? Is there any evidence of that going on?
Wannabe gangs.
Wannabe gangs?
Not real gangs, I don't think. People that want to be a gang, maybe friends, but not really.
So there's no big Tacoma gang coming down or Kelso or anything like that?
Rumors, that's all. They wouldn't come in here. The seniors would chase them out. Everybody would chase them out. They couldn't.
Okay. Tell me, do you see a lot of harassment and fights going on in the high school nowadays?
No, I don't see any more than usual. Not that I've seen any since last year. I haven't seen any more from any of the kids or anything like that.
So how about hearing about fights? Do you hear about them more often?
Yeah, I hear about fights a lot, like 2 or 3 a week, but I've never seen any of them.
You haven't seen any yourself?
Well, just one down by my locker once, but it wasn't real big, so I didn't think anything about it.
Do you hear about what the fights are about? Are they just little things that just kind of explode or what?
I guess kids' tempers are just a little bit on the edge now with all the budget crisis and no copies and that kind of stuff. They're just getting mad about little stuff.
Think so?
Yeah.
How about gangs? Is there any of that going on around here?
Well, there's a couple freshman gangs, but they're not that big of a deal. So gangs aren't that big of a deal, I don't think.
What about when the freshmen become seniors? Do you think that's going to be a big deal?
I don't care. I won't be here.
Do you think that's a problem, the growing apathy of kids? You saying you don't care? You think that's a problem?
No. Not really. Okay. Well, okay.
Did you want to answer that?
Not really.
People rebelling against the principal and everything, and all the teachers, and like they tell us we can't sag our jeans, and and they think that that was like a big old gang move, and it's not, I don't think.
So what is sagging, and tell me about that.
Well, everyone was wearing their jeans, just putting boxer shorts under their jeans and wearing them down to here where their waist is, and so rumors went around that that was like gang related, and that Portland people might come up here and get the wrong idea, and think that we're a gang, but we aren't.
So students are rebelling. Can you tell me why?
Because they think it's stupid. It is stupid. I think that we shouldn't be able to sag our jeans and do what we want and dress how we want. I think that's sort of against our rights.
Okay, thanks. Tell me about the disrespect nowadays in high school. You think it's getting worse? You think kids are not respecting other students and teachers?
Well, I think kids think they're too cool to feel for others. I think
About the lack of respect nowadays.
Well, I think kids think they're too cool to respect others. They come here, the freshmen, and they come here wearing all their gang stuff and everything, and they think they're just too good for everybody else. I think people nowadays just think they're too good for everybody. If they have money, if they have more money than another person, they think they're too good. And I think 20 years ago, people respected each other. They didn't think that much, but nowadays I think people just don't respect each other as much. People don't, if a person's poor, they don't respect them, they put them down. If a person's overweight, they put them down. If a person's ugly, they put them down. It's just, there's just no respect. And I think this year with the freshmen, a lot of them are punks. They come here and I think it just got a lot worse.
What do you think about it? Do you think it's the same way?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. A lot of the freshmen just don't respect people, like you said.
What about fights? Is a lot of that going on?
Yeah, there's way too many fights this year.
Is that just freshmen, or is it everybody?
That's pretty much everybody.
And why are people fighting?
There's a lot of bad things going around. People are putting people down. It just raises the tension levels.
And why are people putting other people down? What do you think is the cause of that?
Labeling.
Really?
I think people need to look beyond labels.
Okay, tell me a little. Billy mentioned a little bit about gangs. Can you elaborate on that? Is it really a problem?
I don't think it's really a problem right now.
You think it will be?
It could be if we don't do something about it.
And what do you think could be done?
Well, we just need to show people how stupid they really are.
Okay, thanks. Can you offer some opinions about what you think? Is there a growing lack of respect students towards other students?
Yes, most definitely.
And how is that manifested? What's going on?
Well, there's more fights this year, and there's more, what's that word called? Vandalism.
Yeah, that's true.
What kind of vandalism?
Just breaking stuff, writing on walls, and
Graffiti?
yeah. Well, I mean, not like paint graffiti, but just look around, you can see it.
There's a lot. Well, I don't know.
You don't know? You know. Go ahead and tell me. What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
What do I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot more fights this year, and she's right. It does seem like our school's not as clean this year as it has been in the past. People aren't as respectful towards it.
Is there harassment going on?
Yeah,
Towards students, towards teachers, what?
students mostly.
There's some harassment towards teachers.
And what kind? How's this going about?
I don't know, but it's just, I don't know. There's more fights, that's kind of part of it.
So what frequency are these fights occurring?
Frequency, there's like, I think there's one a day. I
One
don't
a
know.
day?
I don't know if it's that bad, but that's what it seems like. I never get to see them.
But you hear about them?
Yeah.
Do you hear about why these fights are occurring? Are they just little things that blow up, or what's going on?
Yeah, most of the
Sometimes
time.
they're, I don't know. Most of the time they're just stupid things.
Really?
Just get mad about stuff.
So why do you think this is happening? Why are kids not having respect towards others, and why is this harassment going on?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Maybe it's the fact that there are more gang-type activities starting up, and I don't know.
What about the gangs? What are the gangs doing, and is it becoming a problem, do you think?
Not really, not yet.
Well, it could be.
Yeah.
What do you think?
About the gangs?
Yeah.
It could be a problem. I think it probably will be, but I don't see anything right now. I mean, there's not gangs here yet. There probably will be.
Okay. Anything else? New student, tell me what you see as far as harassment and fights, violence going on in the high school.
Well, the first 10 minutes that I came to this school, I saw a fight out in the hall while I was filling out some papers. And ever since then, there's just been talk about people going behind Safeway and beating each other's brains in. I saw a kid that broke his hand in a fight with someone else behind Safeway.
Wow. So how many fights have you seen so far?
2.
And what kind of impression does that make on you as a new student?
Well, this is kind of a violent school.
You think so?
Yeah, people seem to vent their frustrations on each other, and it just isn't right.
Now, as someone from, now this is kind of a perspective from outside. I know you just got here, so can you tell me why do you think this is going on?
I don't know. People just don't seem to have much to do here. It's a boring town. And
so you think it's just boredom, lack of anything else to do?
Yeah, there's really nothing much better to do.
Do you see any, besides fights, do you see any harassment going on?
Not so much. There's a little bit, like someone pulling each other's hair, scratching, biting, just things that preschoolers do.
Yeah. How about gangs? Have you heard anything or seen anything about that?
I haven't heard anything about gangs around here yet, but I'm sure there's got to be some around here. Back where I'm from, there's not much gang activity, just a bunch of friends getting together.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I've heard so far, but I heard that it could get worse if nothing's done about it.
And we're back live in the studio here at CCTV Channel 9. You were just watching a tape that I did last Friday at the high school here in St. Helens. And I don't want to slight anyone in Scappoose. I'm sorry I didn't make it to Scappoose, but if you are from Scappoose and from the high school, or a parent, a citizen, and you have some questions or comments, concerns about this issue, are our high schools and schools in general becoming more violent, give us a call, 397-5886. Let me qualify or talk about those interviews for a second. There was a couple people that kind of talked about the principal and the vice principal and how, how students are rebelling and things like that. This is the truth. What you're seeing on those interviews. We're not editing anything. We're not editing. We're not soundbiting. We're not doing anything. We're showing the truth. And public access, our nature, we can't really tell people what to say and what not to say, and that's the beauty of it. So if anyone wants to make a comment on the opposing view, go ahead, give us a call, 397-5886. Let me get back a little bit and talk about the guns. In St. Helens, oh, we've got a phone call, I'm sorry. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, JJ, this is Heidi.
Hi.
I was just calling to let you know, well, I think that the self-defense is like really important at school with the fights and stuff.
Could you speak up a little bit?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Another thing too is Mr. Kunders. The thing that bugs me is he gets mad at like 2 people who are fighting and one's defending themselves, and 2 people get suspended for it. And I mean, if I were like fighting, I wouldn't like. I'd do it for self-defense. I wouldn't just sit there and let somebody hit me. But like the self-defense, I think like another thing too, really quick. The suspension. He like suspends you, and people think, well, that's really cool. It's a vacation, and I really think that he should like make the punishment a little bit harsher, because suspension, they think, well, it's like a vacation and it's an excuse to get off of school, and it's just,
So kids don't really care. I mean, if they get suspended, then great. They're out for a couple days and they get to party, right?
Yeah, I think,
So
and another thing is the self-defense. When you fight, you don't want to like just have somebody sit there and hit you, but like just like self-defense is what I mean.
So
and
what
you
can
get
you
in
do?
trouble for it. You get in trouble for it. If you like fight, you're not going to just sit there and let somebody hit you. You're going to defend yourself, and but that's how a fight starts. But and you get in trouble for that if you like fight too.
So do you think people are favored a little bit? Some people get harsher punishments than others?
Well, no.
You see that happening?
Well, no. Just if you fight any time of, you know, like trying to defend yourself or anything, you get in trouble anyways. You know, you're sitting there trying to defend yourself, and you get in trouble anyways.
So is there a lot of that? A lot of people picking fights with other people and...
Well, yeah, yeah, you know, it's just like if somebody says rumors about somebody else, then they just go up and punch them or whatever, you know, and that person's like, you know, either innocent or guilty, but, you know, the innocent, they just like try and fight back, and you get in trouble anyways.
So what would you think would be the cause of this?
What do you mean?
Kids don't care? Is that generally what it is?
Like if they get suspended, they think, oh, cool, it's a vacation, you know? It's time off of school, just an excuse to get off of school. And I think that's so stupid. You know, and Mr. Kenders gets so mad. Like, if you fight and you're, you know, trying to defend yourself, you're not going to just sit there and let somebody hit you, and you get suspended. And I think that's, you know, unfair.
Do you think it's all the school's fault, or is there something else to blame?
Well, it's just the way that they run things. Like, just if you get in trouble, you know?
So a lot of it has to do with the way the school handles it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
You get suspended no matter what. If you try to defend yourself, you get suspended. You know? You got to have self-defense.
Yeah.
If somebody's going to hit you, you don't want to just sit there and let them hit you. And so, and the suspension too. That, you know.
Okay. Well, anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's okay.
Okay, thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate that. Maybe that will start a few phone calls in. The number is 397-5886. If students want to call, feel free. Please don't be afraid to say, you know, make some comments, suggestions, whatever you want to say. Don't be afraid. We're not going to bite your head off or anything. A lot of people called in for Mark's show last time and hung up, so please don't do that. We got another phone call. Hi.
Hi, how you doing tonight, JJ?
Pretty good. How are you?
Oh, real good. First of all, I'd like to say that I've been out of high school 8 years now, and it's been a while since I've you know, been around the high school scene. I have 3 children myself.
And what are the ages of these children? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Just a moment.
Okay.
But what I like to say, you know, the one girl's, you know, overemphasized self-defense. You know, she said that 8, 10 times. I mean, you got to look at the offense. Why are kids out there smacking other kids in the first place?
Yeah.
You know, she's all worried about defending herself. I went to 6 high schools in 4 years, everywhere from David Douglas to Grant High School in downtown Portland.
Grant High School. Okay.
Scappoose, St. Helens. I went around. I went through with no fights. I was never in a fight. I was never even suspended. And you know, if the emphasis, if there was more done at home with the parents, you know, like the girl said, kids get suspended, it's a vacation, because nothing gets done at home with the parents. You know, I believe it all starts at home. If the kids are taught to respect, you know, each other and their elders at home when they're young, well, these type of problems don't happen when they get into school. I mean, if I ever disrespected anybody as a kid, you know, I got it put to me by dad or mom, you don't do that.
Yeah.
And I never had these kind of problems in school. You know, I didn't disrespect teachers, and it just seems ridiculous, you know, because I did go, like I said, to Grant High School, and that's a pretty good example of what you might see on a movie, you know, where kids will smoke pot in the back of the TV, or in the back of the room, and throw paper airplanes at the assemblies. I mean, it was just like that. You know, there was metal detectors at the doors and security guards with guns walking around the hallways.
Wow.
And this was 8 years ago, and to hear that this type of stuff is now, you know, infiltrating out here into small little white urban communities like St. Helens is really sad.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me sick that people kill people in the first place, and to see that the youth are doing it, you know, 14-year-olds, 9-year-olds bringing guns to school to scare somebody because, you know, for whatever reason, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And I think a lot more needs to be done at home. And, you know, with too many single moms, single dads, broken homes like that, kids just don't get the attention and the proper upbringing that's needed where they come out respecting people like that.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's exactly what I wanted to, what you as viewers out there wanted to get at. It's what I wanted you to get at, was to realize that it does start at the home. And like you said, with a lot of broken homes nowadays, divorces, separations, and child abuse, sexual abuse at the home, I don't think America as a society is setting a good example at the home, and that's reflecting on the schools.
Oh, I agree with you. And, you know, the schools have become more of a babysitting service, you know, for 8 hours a day. I mean, you know, this country we live in is so goofed up, you know. Nowadays it takes both parents to work just to support a family.
Yeah.
You know, if you get on the welfare system, it's hard to get off, and you know, and when you got those kind of problems, just in dealing with reality in life, it's hard to stay focused on what your children are doing and what they're doing in school. And you know, the kids get suspended for 2 days, and both the parents are gone working. So the kid sits at home, watches TV, watches movies that show violence and stuff like that. You know, it's just a revolving circle, and nothing's getting done. I believe that, you know, the education system needs to be changed. It's ridiculous that, you know, curriculum is the way it is. You know, not enough attention is placed on educating our children. You know, too much emphasis on sports and activities such as that. You know.
Yeah. You know,
Maybe
things will change with, I don't know if you've heard much or read much in the papers about this new site-based administration, where they're going to be making most of the decisions, not just as district-wide, but from like the buildings themselves. Say the high school, things need to happen at the high school, but they're a little bit different, say at McBride. So there'll be these decisions will be made based on the buildings themselves, and not in a wide general area.
Well, definitely. I think any time that you break down the groups into smaller you know, units, you're always going to get better results. You know, it's a proven fact. You know, you put 100 students in a room and try to teach them a lesson with one teacher, a lot less students are going to learn that lesson than, say, only 10 were in there with that one teacher.
Yeah, and by the same token, though, the state of Oregon is going through massive budget cuts.
Oh, I know. Even out here, you know, you read that, and like I said, our country's goofed up. You know, the values are in the wrong places. You know, presidents now and on past can sign, you know, billion-dollar aid packages at the stroke of a pen to send halfway around the world, but yet, you know, why can't they stroke that pen and send $1 billion to the education system of this country, or to the welfare system of this country, or, you know, stop exporting logs? And, you know, there's too much emphasis placed everywhere else besides the youth of this country, and this country is a reflection of what our youth are.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad that I am, you know, as young as I am, and I have to be a part of it, because I feel that, you know, I'm even though coming from a broken home myself, my dad was an alcoholic, my mom worked swing shift, us kids were home alone cooking dinners by ourselves. I never disrespected anybody, and like I said, you know, I made it through school with no violence, and I think it's a matter of each kid taking a turn to realize that everybody's a person, everybody has the right to have their own opinion, and you know, not one person, everybody has to take the same thought of, you know, not swinging or whatever, and working it out verbally or whatever.
It sounds like you may be 1 out of 1,000 or a million, because from your background, from the way you describe it, it sounds like you would have just went the total wrong side of the tracks and you know, went the wrong way in society. But it sounds like you pulled yourself up and went the right direction. So.
Well, like I said, it all begins at home.
Yeah.
And although my home was broken, each parent that I did have still you know, parented me to the best of their abilities when I was with either one of them, and I still got a very good upbringing.
Now you mentioned you have children. What are the ages?
I have an 7, 4, and 1-year-old.
Okay, so you have a 7-year-old. Is he in grade school?
He's in 2nd grade.
Okay, so are there any? Does he come home with any problems, fights, or anything like that in grade school?
He gets harassed in school. I was one of those kids in school. I was harassed a lot. Like I said, going to all them schools, I was always the new kid. I was overweight. I was short, and I was always someone to pick on. And I always wondered. There was many days I went home crying and hid out in the car in the garage because I didn't want to go to school because, you know, kids were picking on me. And you know, how good's the education system when I'm so worried about getting beat up because I'm not wearing the right kind of clothes, or my hair's not cut the right way, or I ain't Mr. Cool, or I'm not with the in crowd. And if
some may argue that you know, that's just kids. Kids are going to do that, and you can't stop them from doing that. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, kids are kids, and kids only learn what you teach them.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. And like I said, if you know, that's what they see on TV. You know, that's reality. You know, I don't know how many kids in this area watch the violence down in Los Angeles. You know, but I mean, that's reality. I let my kids watch that stuff on TV. I'm not gonna, you know, shelter them and let them walk out to this world when they're 18 years old and go, wow, this is what it's really like. You know, I mean, and there's other ways besides violence to handle things. And like I say, you know, it needs to start at home with, you know, with the attention that parents can give their kids, and not just, and when they do something wrong, smack them upside the head and say, knock that off. You know, you need to take the time to explain why it's wrong and what to do to correct it and make it right, so next time they know. You know, smacking a kid upside the head or swatting them on the butt, you know, without an explanation ain't going to do any good. It's just going to teach that kid, well, hitting somebody's going to make it right, you know. And like I said, it starts at home when they're young, and that's when the attention needs to be put on them. So when they get to school, that they have the respect. There's no reason why that all the kids the same age should have gangs and be ganging up on other kids and beating other kids up and harassing kids and stuff like that. It's ridiculous, you know. We're all human beings. We're all people. We all got to live in this country, in this city together. There's no sense in that. Well, I think I about said my piece and took up enough of your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you calling. Thanks.
All right, have a nice evening.
You too. 397-5886. The question in my show today is, are our high schools becoming, and our schools in general, becoming more violent? The last caller brought up some very good suggestions, and these are things that I'm going to get at in more detail next week as far as what the problem is and how we can solve them. And he said that it needs to start at home, and he's right. I believe we have another phone call. Go ahead, caller.
Hello?
Hi.
I was listening to the seniors that were on there talking about, and I heard a lot of them saying it was the freshmen that are starting everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that may be a lot of it, but there's also, because I've seen almost all the fights that have gone on, because I just happened to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are like sophomores. I haven't seen that many seniors, but there's sophomores and juniors involved in it too.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to stand up for the freshmen, because I'm a freshman.
Okay.
And say that, you know, we are the ones that are starting the gangs, and we are the ones that rebelled against the sagging thing that happened. But there's also other grades that are doing it too.
But it's also your right, you know, you have the right to rebel against things like that, you know. The 60s proved that. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, and the 60s proved that, you know, kids question authority. That's what it's all about. You have to question authority.
Mm-hmm.
But by the same token, should it be violent? You know, that's the question. Do you think?
I know.
Do you think it's becoming more violent in schools?
Oh, there's a lot of violence in schools. I mean, in our schools especially, because there's always people fighting every day. There's at least one fight, and people get suspended, like that girl that was on there earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the principal's fault. I have no problem with him suspending everyone that gets in a fight, because I don't want to see it and I don't want to be involved with it.
Yeah.
And so I feel safe with those people being suspended, because I don't want to be around it.
So do you feel threatened at all?
Well, not myself, but I'm just afraid for all my friends or people that are exactly my friends, but people just getting beat up all the time and just being around it.
And are those people's, obviously, I mean, it's probably a stupid question, but are those people's education suffering because of this?
Oh, definitely, because those people that are getting in the fights are always the ones in the classrooms that are making the noise when teachers trying to teach us, or sitting in the back doing whatever. And so it's kind of annoying, too.
So is it a maturity factor, you think?
Well, yeah. It would be nice if we had some more security around, but we don't, because everyone's busy, and now people are getting fired because of Measure 5. So.
Yeah, and that's bringing a whole new issue. I mean, a whole new light to this issue. You know, with the budget cuts, a lot of people are really bummed out about it, a lot of students.
Oh, I know.
And that's just making the general attitude around the school even more low, so.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Any more comments you want to make?
Oh, no.
All right, thanks for calling. Really appreciate it.
Bye.
Some great phone calls today. I really appreciate that. Any other students that would like to call and offer their opinions about this, sophomores and seniors and juniors, you want to call and kind of rebut that phone call right there? She had a very good point as far as the freshmen. They shouldn't be picked on. No one's to blame, really, but you shouldn't blame, you know, the freshmen either. The number is 397-5886. This is Sunday, May 2nd, I almost said 3rd, 1993. We have another phone call. Go ahead.
Yeah, JJ?
Hi.
Yeah, I'm a graduate.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, I'm a graduate from last year, and I've seen a lot of stuff that goes on at the schools from this year, because I have a lot of friends that are still there. And it's sad to see, because last year, a lot of the senior guys were... Because a lot of the senior guys were having problems. We got in trouble with, like, our pep assemblies and stuff. We weren't being active, or we were overacting, and we were getting in trouble for a lot of this.
She's having some problems with her phone, it sounds like.
yeah, we're having a little bit of a problem. And it's that same, that's like a lot of people said, suspended. Yeah, but some parents don't do nothing about it. I had a split family. My parents have been divorced since I've been a little baby. I lived with my mom. And I've lived with my mom for all my life, and it's just like, I turned out really good. I've never gotten in fights. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I've never gotten in trouble with the principals. And I've done really good in school.
So, they say it starts at home, but even though homes are being broken up and there could be some abuse, it's not. Maybe it's not all. Maybe it's not all at the home. Some of it has to do with at the school itself. You think?
Yeah, because some people see their friends doing stuff, and it's like, oh, this is cool and stuff. Well, I've been known to be around the wrong people and stuff, but I mean, I'm still good.
So what? The students are seeing not just things from the home, but things from their friends and at things at school, and they're just emulating. They, like the caller said earlier, they do what they learn. What do you think about that?
Yeah, they're going to do what they see other people do and stuff, and if they have the common sense, they're going to know, well, hey, listen, this is going to get you in trouble, and they aren't going to do that.
Yeah. Okay, well, any more comments?
We're sorry.
Any more comments you'd like to make?
No.
Okay. Thanks for calling. We're sorry about those troubles. Okay, is the caller gone? Caller's gone? Okay. Sounds like she had a little bit of technical difficulties with her phone. We apologize to the viewers and to the caller. I'll entertain a couple more phone calls. The number is 397-5886. The question this week, that might be down here somewhere, are the schools becoming more violent? Back to the Oregonian issue. The Senate of Oregon passed the bill 334 to make carrying guns on school grounds a felony. And they weren't just looking at high schools either. One of the big cases that they were looking at when this bill passed was Highland Middle School in Corvallis. This is a middle school, ladies and gentlemen, a junior high. And 6 handguns were confiscated from students over the last year, and several of those guns were loaded. This isn't cowboys and Indians we're talking about here. This is real life things. A conversation that I had with the principal of St. Helens High School, he said that one kid brought a gun to school. He just wanted to show off, and I believe there's a little validity in that. Excuse me, but by the same token, something definitely could have happened there. And once again, I don't want to hype this problem. I don't want to make it a bigger problem than what it seems to be. But at the same time, we cannot deny this. And I think the administration believes that too. We cannot deny this whatsoever. I'm going to wait for another phone call or two in the next minute or two. And if no one wants to call, I'll wrap up the show. I want to thank my crew right now for helping me out and for staying here so late. Let me mention right now, while I have a minute, that Community Live only has another probably 4 or 5 more shows to go, and then we're going to start our summer season of Kids Off Campus. I've been having a lot of kids asking me about when we're going to be starting up. As soon as school gets out, kids, we're going to start that, and it doesn't have to be just grade school, junior high kids either. It can be high school kids. In fact, I would like to have high school kids. They can help me out with more of the production end of it too. I believe we have a phone call. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, JJ.
Hi.
I was just going to call, and I've been out of school for 3 years, and I was just going to say that I think the administration is one of the biggest problems.
You think so?
Yeah. When I went, I wasn't ready to go to college. I don't know what I want to do. I still don't know what I want to do. But they want you to go to college, and I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends didn't want to. They just want to work and do stuff like that, and they don't have nothing for us to do. I skipped school all the time, partied, I did all that stuff. I didn't get in fights, but I watched a lot of them. But Freeburn and Condors, those guys are pukes as far as I'm concerned. I mean, those guys are pansies.
Okay, let's not get personal here.
Well, those guys are terrible.
What? Give me some reasons. Give me some reasons behind why you say that.
Well, when Condors first came, he was really nice. He was a nice guy.
Yeah, he is.
And I like him personally, but for principal, I can't stand the guy.
Well, he'll be on next week, so he can't really defend himself right now. But just kind of tell me why you think that.
Oh, I don't know. Like how everybody else has said, for fights and stuff, both parties are they get in trouble. And then just the way he has suspension, noon detention, that stuff's a joke. I never went to any of that stuff, and they never did anything to you.
So, students can kind of laugh at that and think
Yeah,
of it as a
it
little
doesn't
free
do
time.
anything for you. I mean, it's just as easy to get out of it, and they don't even slap your hand.
So, what would be better? Do you have any ideas of what could be better to
I don't
snap
know.
kids
Like
in
a
the
couple of
shape?
the other callers said, let's have something for high schoolers to do or something.
Yeah.
Like that one guy you interviewed at the high school. That's a good idea. I mean, I'm out of school now. There's stuff for me to do, but, a lot of people can't drive. You can't be out that late. If they had some kind of, maybe more dances or stuff like that, a rec center for people to go to, or just try to, get people more prepared for life, real life, out of high school, because I couldn't afford to go to college or anything like that. And I don't know, I just think they need to work on some more stuff, and I'll come back in next week when Congress is here.
Great. Appreciate that.
But that's about all I really got to say. I've just been watching this. I think this is a good topic you're doing here.
Okay, thanks.
All right?
Appreciate that, caller. And I just want to tell you that next week we'll be on at 7 o'clock also. We're going to, our last 4 or 5 shows will be on at 7 o'clock Sunday nights live, just for the mere fact that it's starting to get nicer outside, and people are probably still outside around 5 o'clock. And they're starting to come in around 7 to eat dinner and stuff. I know we're up against 60 minutes, I believe, but I think my show is a little better than 60 minutes, don't you? Anyway, we have another phone call. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, JJ.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm a sophomore at the high school.
Uh-huh.
And I think that this was a really good topic, right,
Thanks.
that you're doing. But I agree with what the other guy said. The administration at the school really needs to do something to keep the students interested, because they're just not doing it. Like, I've talked to a lot of the other students, and I mean, a lot of my friends have dropped out just this year.
Oh, really?
Like, I know at least 15 people that have just quit school this year.
15?
Yeah, just of my friends that have, since the beginning of the year, just quit.
What are some of the reasons why they drop out?
People get bored at school. Nobody wants to sit there and be lectured for 6.5 hours and then go home and do homework.
Yeah.
And with the St. Helens schools, they require the most credits, in most of the state. I mean, you can fail two classes, and in order to graduate, or you got to take night classes. And they're really not doing much to keep you interested. And the counseling there, they're not real active either. I mean.
And with these new budget cuts that we're facing, you think things will get worse?
Yeah, I do. They're going to get a lot worse because they're going to be cutting sports. And, I know some people, too, that they only go to school and keep their grades up so they can play sports.
Yeah,
and
well, whatever keeps them in school, I guess.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of incentive lost with all these, with all the cuts.
But you're staying in school, right?
Yeah, I go to school most of the time, but sometimes I get bored and dead.
But you yourself, you say you're bored of it too?
Yeah, I get pretty bored just sitting there all day.
What do you think could be done? Maybe the students and administration can get together and make some plans to try to get it more exciting and.
Yeah, just to keep you interested. Like, there's some teachers, like some of the newer teachers, they'll do kind of cool stuff in class, but a lot of the teachers there are just old, and they just kind of do their teaching thing, and that's it. They don't really try and keep you interested. They're just it seems like the teachers there are just there to do their job and get their check.
Yeah, do their job, assign homework, and get their checks and leave, huh?
Yeah, and that's and the students pick up on that kind of stuff, and it doesn't set a good atmosphere to learn. So, but with the question of it becoming violent, I don't think our school's really becoming all that violent.
What would you call it then?
I mean,
is there a growing lack of respect? Is that what it is?
There's a lot of people there who just, they got to show off.
Yeah.
And the people that are getting in fights are like, the people who are bigger just thumping on somebody else who really can't protect themselves. And that's the way it usually happens.
So a lot of harassment.
Yeah, exactly.
And that, to me, when I was in high school 5 years ago, it was the same way. There was a lot of kids that were harassed, and And so I don't think that has really changed that much, do you?
No, it's just like that, 'cause yeah, I know you went to school with my older brother. I mean, you guys used to be friends.
Uh-huh.
And I remember you used to come over and pick on me and my other little brother. But
I'm sorry. Yeah, so a lot of that had to do with just being young. I think once the kids grow up and get out of school, get out of high school and start college, they realize that, you know, they need to respect other people.
yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
I remember you and my brother Jeff. That's who
Oh,
it
is this
was.
Rich?
No, it's Joe.
Oh, it's Joe. How you
Yeah.
doing, Joe?
Pretty good. But yeah, I mean, it's just like that now. It's the same as when you and him were in high school.
Yeah.
Everybody's still going over behind Safeway, and the Safeway people are kicking them out now. But I mean, there ain't really all that many fights back there. I mean, I'm over there all the time, and there's people like every day, but there's not a fight every day. Like there's a fight maybe once a month.
So I hadn't really talked too much about gangs. Do you think that's becoming a problem here at the high school?
No, a lot of people talk about it, but I mean, there's like 5 or 6 people who are wannabes, but
Wannabes.
that about covers it. I mean, they're no major threat, and I don't see a problem with, you know, being worried about gangs either here, because the majority of the people won't accept it, you know, like
That's
people
good.
people have tried to start gangs and stuff, and everybody else just kind of, you know, just totally covers it up. Just nobody else in town will let it happen.
So just a isolated little small group of kids who want to just kind of want to be gangs, and most of the kids just say, "I'll get out of here." Is that
Yeah,
basically it?
like the 8th graders last year, the freshmen now, tried to start their little gang, and you know, everybody just totally suppressed them to where they just gave it up.
I wonder why. What would start that mentality? They glamorize that from the movies and TV, and they think,
Yeah.
"Hey, that's cool."
You know, what you see on TV every day. So, I mean, that's where they're getting it.
Yeah.
But it won't be accepted in this town, you know, and I don't think it'll be a real big problem.
Good. I hope not. I hope you're right. I really do. But I don't know. Just some of the reports that I've heard about gangs coming in from Kelso trying to recruit kids and stuff. It's scary. It scares
I heard
me.
about all that too. It was just, they were coming down to, you know, to beat up all the other wannabes that were down here. So it just gets all confusing, but I mean, everybody else in town was just totally suppressing those people, which is good, because it's, the other students are letting them know that, you know, they ain't gonna let stuff like you know, like that get carried away.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still looking out and being careful and making some good decisions. But there's a lot of harassment, I think.
But it's not really nothing new.
No, it's not. It's the same old high school stuff, you
Yeah.
know. It's been around for years.
Yeah.
But that new kid that you interviewed that was on that tape,
Mm-hmm.
I think that probably was really coincidental.
Oh, you
Him
think so?
seeing those 2 fights, you know. 'Cause there was like a week there when there was a few fights. And that kid that broke his hand, I saw that fight, you know, and I think that was pretty coincidental.
Let me ask you personally. When you see a fight, do you think first thing you think of? Oh, entertainment. Do you think that?
Yeah, right on. Entertainment. Let's go instigate it.
Yeah, that's what most of the kids do. You know, I was the same way when I was in high school. I saw a fight and I'd be like, yeah, you know, root for whoever you want to root for, and and hopefully no one breaks it up until it's solved
Until
or
one guy-
someone wins.
Yeah, until one of them can't walk or something. But
And that is a sad statement, though. I mean,
yeah,
you know, when you see a fight, you're supposed to, you know, try to break it up, but it's just, I guess that's the way society has bred us. You know, all the movies and the music that we listen to.
it's
and
part of being young, though.
yeah, that's true. That's true. So some of this may not be solvable at all.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm just
everybody
spouting my
grows out of
horn
it.
here for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah. And,
Okay.
yeah, but it looks like you're out of time here, so.
I'm getting close. I'm getting close.
All right, well, I'll let you go then.
All right, thanks for calling, Joe.
All right.
Appreciate it. Nice talking to you.
Yeah.
Your voice got really deep.
Yeah. All right, talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.
And one more thing, stay in school. Stay in school. That's very important. 15, he personally knew 15 people that dropped out just this year. That's incredible. I mean, stay in school. You know, the old NBA adage, stay in school. That's very important, and I think they have a point there, really. And the caller did have a point about changing the atmosphere in school and making it more enjoyable. You just really, I don't know. I don't know where I'm leading with this. When I was in high school, I was in student government, and that kind of made things more bearable for me. It took my mind off the daily grind. So you might want to think about that, getting into student politics, activities, or whatever. We got another phone call. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah.
Hi.
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 I agree totally with the person previous who just called.
Uh-huh.
And these kids who run around thinking they're gangsters in high school. I've previously had an occurrence with them, and these kids they think they're tough. They got to carry weapons around and stuff, and all they do is they push around the little kids in the high school, who are littler than them, and I just think it's a bunch of BS. I don't think it's right. They've tried messing with my little brother and stuff, and it didn't happen. It's been taken care of a few times. The police don't think anything of it either. They don't really give a rip about these kids, going around pushing people around. I don't think it's right though. If they're going to do that, they shouldn't be allowed to go around the school. They drop out of school and then they go over during lunch and after school, and they just, they make trouble with them.
Yeah.
I don't think that's right. I think they should be, if they're dropped out, they should staying away from the school.
Yeah, that is a very good point. They drop out and then they just hang out by Safeway and cause trouble. Basically all they do. And,
exactly.
Same thing they were doing when they were in school.
Exactly.
But at the same, by the same token, these kids, they're troubled kids. They're probably from bad backgrounds. They deserve a fair shake at education just like everyone else. But, if they abuse it, what can you do? What can be done? There is alternative schools, but even the alternative schools are, having problems with this and aren't working for a lot of kids.
Yeah, I don't think these kids even want to go to school.
Yeah.
They think they can make it out on the street, but, most of them aren't even old enough to get a job, And I just think that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
They should at least try to stick it out and make their high school career something worthwhile instead of trying to be wannabes, the gangsters.
Yeah, very good point. When I was 16, I thought I knew everything. I thought I was, Einstein when I was 16, and now that I'm 22, I look back, and it seems like every day I think, oh, how could I be so naive to think something like that, And just last week, I think, oh, what an idiot. Why don't I grow up? So it's a never-ending process, I think, and you don't really realize that until you're out and you step back and you look at it. So
exactly.
Yeah,
the way I look at it, if I could make it through high school with as much stuff as I did, I goofed around a lot. We did a lot of things. If I can make it, I think them little kids can make it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to call them wannabes, little kids. That's what I think they are if they're going to pull that crap.
Yeah.
But if we can make it, then they can make it. They just don't want to even try.
Yeah, good point. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye. Very good point. Yeah, if I could make it through high school, anyone can. And the same thing with the last caller, and I really appreciate the phone calls. It's getting a little bit after the hour, so why don't I go ahead and wrap it up. Unless someone else wants to call in, I'll entertain a couple more phone calls. The question is, are the high schools becoming more violent? And maybe violence isn't the right word. Maybe it's disrespect, maybe it's showing off, whatever it is, lack of maturity. But kids will be kids, I guess. And so if there's no more phone calls, I'll go ahead and wrap the show up. Next week, there will be part 2 of this topic, and I will look more into the reasons why kids are becoming the way they are today, with lack of respect, with more violence in the high school, more harassment, and than what I've ever seen. And we're also going to look into maybe some of the possible solutions and how it can be solved. We alluded to it a little bit earlier with it has to begin with the family. I believe that the media and society and the music we listen to all rolled into one big ball create this big problem. And here at Public Access, we don't want to hype this. Like I said, we want to show the truth, no sound bites, no editing. And hey, if every TV station was like a Public Access, sure, the quality wouldn't be that great, but the truth would come out. And I don't think, if kids were watching us more than they're watching The Terminator, I think we would have more of a well-rounded, well-rounded children, excuse me. Well, let me wrap up the show.